Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
They say good things come to those who wait, and we've been waiting for football season. We had a lot of questions, things on Twitter, texts, emails. Are you guys coming back? We want to see you. Did Robbie get drunk and start a fight again with a girl? No, none of that happened. We were just waiting to get back into it. And after the first weekend of college football, thankfully, none of us are Florida State fans. And let's go straight to the panel. I'm going to start with Tom Sloan from D-Town, the defending national champion Connor Stallions, Wolverines of the University of Michigan. How are you?
I'm doing good. And if you watched the documentary,
which was stupid, but yes,
the guy's a savant, but he's a really bad liar. I think he kind of lost some credibility, but nonetheless, it's kind of freakish what he was able to do. And there's people that think he's the only reason why they won, but I beg to differ. Maybe he helped, but I don't know.
Stupid shit, man. I mean, you could still do that, and everybody does it to an extent. I think teams are jealous because they don't have fucking a beautiful mind on their side. And he just developed that. Now, I do think he was being coy, intentionally lying. The Central Michigan thing was unnecessary. Not gonna lie, but if people think the University of Michigan won a national championship because of a nerdy Marine, then you're fucking dumber than I thought you are. So
there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there.
It's just haters. We're all jealous. It's all smoke, man. They had 20 guys drafted for a reason, and it wasn't because of Connor Stallions. That's it's going to be one of those years. It looks like where the defense waits for the offense, but that's every year at Michigan.
I mean, you're looking like 3-4 years ago. What the start of how it ended up last year. I think that's what we're looking at, but still early. We'll see. We'll get into it a little bit later in the show. That's for sure.
And I'm not going to lie, before we go to our next panelist, now that I don't have to defend my coast as much, I didn't feel the pressure when my University of Southern California Trojans repped the Big Ten very well against the SEC. But now for real, like the Pac-12, we were always on defense, for lack of a better word or expression, played soft, etc. I didn't quite feel the same. There were some SEC chants just to mock because it just means more at the SEC. But but no, man, it was great. I was just going to quickly touch on that. I went to Vegas for the game. I loaded up on SC minus 7.5. Usually I bet against them. We always read the hype. SC had a transformation in terms of nutritionist, strength and conditioning. And it was for the Big Ten for 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Added 1,400 pounds across the team in lean muscle, theoretically. And, they held their own against the two best offensive tackles in Emory Jones and Will Campbell in the country. And although we didn't get a lot of pressure, we stopped the run on multiple times on 3rd and 4th and 1, where last year there's no way that would have happened with Grinch.
The difference in defense alone was night and day. So
night and day. And we had some really nice additions. couple Mississippi State guys, including a DB, DeCarlos Nicholson, who just loves to come up and put his hat on someone. And I haven't seen a DB tackle at USC in 10 years. So that was refreshing. So speaking of our conference, let's go to Mr. Ohio State, Brandon Chain. What's happening?
What's going on, man? You're fitting in just well with that SEC bashing right there. Love it. Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah, and we won, which is not very Pac-12.
Right.
Was weird. But yeah, what's going on, man? Anything on the links lately? Any recovery from fantasy draft? I don't want to get into it too much.
Oh, no, all good here. Had a little family thing at KC last weekend, but other than that, all good.
Kansas City, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know Kansas City has more fountains per capita than any other city in America?
Did not.
Now we do.
I was told that, and I did verify it, but I think it was on kansascity.com. So know your source. Like I tell my kid, if he ever says something from YouTube, I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Nobody at Harvard ever fucking gets influencers on YouTube. But how was Kansas City, may I ask?
Oh, it was good, man. It was good. We went downtown one night. Power and Light District's a pretty cool spot. It's kind of
How
like
was the barbecue? We're supposed to ask that, right?
No, I don't eat barbecue there. No.
Fucking A. Finally, now to our lone SEC representative in our largely Tennessee-based audience and subject show, if you will. Mr. By the way, Robert Davis did not watch all of the Tennessee game, and I cannot believe it with your quarterback from Long Beach Poly. But after that intro, Rob, how are you?
Hey, I am doing well, and I want to echo Brandon's statement. You have adapted into the Big Ten.
Here it comes.
Right off the bat, you're obsessed with the SEC already. it is great. Go ahead. Yeah, like there was a miniature obsession when you were on the West Coast, but now
you're outnumbered.
You are in the Big 18. Yes, get the obsession. I expect to have a SEC spray painted X flag in your yard. So just bring it on. I'm happy to be back, guys.
I've always been surrounded by them living in Tennessee. I've never understood where people are like, are you sure you like Tennessee fans? And I'm like, bitch, those are your competition. Like, you don't want them getting your recruits and succeeding.
Never understood that.
It still happens.
Rog, I want a
why, again,
103-year-old lady to pass away. I don't never root for my SEC.
Oh, Sister Jean.
Insane, though.
Wow.
LSU fans were a little different. I enjoyed the taste of their tears. The younger ones, with the guys with a collared shirt tucked into their khakis and white belts and loafers. Sorry if that's anybody listening. It probably is. But those were some goofy-ass motherfuckers. The older LSU Southern crowd was phenomenal. They were polite, respectful Southern Belles, like an Ole Miss type thing. Just an amazing group of people. Good game afterwards. I thought I might get Raider fans shanked, but no, man, it was a great time. And yeah, I can hate on the SEC now because I think we can be competitive in our conference. So, saying that, yeah, Vegas was fun.
Dangerous thing.
Dude, Vegas was fun. I have a boy living there and his family. And the last time I was there, we made kind of a bad impression. He got busted for trying to take a leak in his dryer. And his wife wasn't thrilled. It was right there, but she kind of blamed me. But no, I stayed away from the Rhino and Palomino number 4 and OG's, which I think is closed. And I think Cheetahs is closed. Also, Blackjack's my game. You really can't find $100 table. I mean, $100 table is the minimum to play without suckers, without tourists. It was 25 and 50.
Single deck blackjack's pretty much gone.
Single deck is gone. A totally different game. Sometimes you stay as long as you're not card counting on, the number under. It depends on what you're playing and where the deck is, but it's pretty crazy. if you know the dealer's going to bust. But anyways, I was pretty good. I didn't think I'd be boozing this soon, but I am. Dude, let's get straight into college football. Aside from Florida State, you know, my Trojans jumped up 10 spots. You know, I knew we'd be improved. I don't know. When I'm looking ahead, it's the second week, but I see a team like Mizzou at number 9 and number 10. And I see a team that, ahead of Michigan, that has a good quarterback in Brady Cook, but lost Cody Schrader, that 1,627 yards, 14 TDs, the SEC Player of the Year. They had their defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, go to LSU, and they played well. Darius Robinson, Jalen Charles, and it's Rex Straw Jr., Abraham Drain, all drafted. I know Luther Burden's there, but I don't see a top 10 team, you know, with Eli Drinkerwitz or whatever. The schedule's easy, but that's not a top 10 team to me. I see 4 or 5 teams better, including Utah, Tennessee, USC, OU, Miami. You guys, who's overrated? I'll start with you, Tom. Who's overrated? Not necessarily in the top 10, just in general. And then we're going to do underrated.
Well, I mean, I don't have to go too far for this answer. I think Michigan at number 10, I think they may be a little overrated. There's a lot of question marks here. Leading into last week's game, it was Alex Orji. The consensus starter was Alex Orji. They start the game, it's Davis Warren. So what's going on at practice at camp that made them decide to change? And I think seeing Orji throw the ball kind of answered a lot of questions that people may have had. He doesn't have an accurate arm. He doesn't throw well on the run. And that's a big problem when you're an athletic, out of the pocket type of quarterback. So, you know, the next best option is a Warren. But, you know, they got a young kid in Jaden Davis, who's a 4-star, 5-star freshman out of North Carolina, who's the number 3, which, you know, there's potential to maybe see him in this upcoming season. But I just think there's a lot of question marks. The receiving core is very suspect. And outside of Colston Loveland, there's not a whole lot there. So I think they're sitting at 10 out of respect of what they did last year. And I don't agree with that 100%. I do think they're a top 20 team because the way their defense sits, but top 10, not right now. I think we'll get a good indication after this week, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But to me, it's probably Michigan sitting at 10 as a bit overrated. And underrated, I think what Miami did, like Robbie said, Cam Ward, I mean, he just went and just absolutely picked apart Florida and might have gave Billy Napier his walking papers at Florida. But I think you're going to see them start to move up. And I like what USC did. When they needed to make a stop, they got the stop. But when they needed to get a score, they got the score at the end in, you know, a hostile environment. So I think those two teams might be slightly underrated. And I think as the season goes on, it'll start to adjust itself.
For us, it was 50-50. We were just more wine and cheese, and they were a little bit more Pabst and spam. But no, it was like the Rose Bowl. It was split down the line. I have to say that. We repped. I was pretty happy about that. And I'm not going to lie, dude. I thought for sure just mark an L on September 21st at the Big House. But now I'm excited about that game. You know, the thing about USC is depth. We don't have that depth. It takes a while to build. Not like Michigan or Ohio State. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Shane, underrated, overrated. Start out overrated.
Ooh. Overrated, I'm going to have to say Oregon. Even though they slid from 3 to 7, I still think it's too high for them. They looked absolutely atrocious.
Against an ass team.
Against just a garbage team. So I think they're way overrated. I feel like, again, Miami, Tennessee, Utah, USC, all better teams than Oregon is right now. So they're way overrated in this ranking.
They crushed the portal on defense as well. Gabriel has been there 28 years in college football. But, at one point it was 17-14 over Idaho, which, a team named the Vandals from Idaho. I couldn't believe it.
Well, they won by 10. They won by 10 points.
This is a bottom 10 team. They were missing. They didn't run the ball enough, but, Jordan James is not Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's a hell of a back. Fantasy-wise, if you don't have him, watch for him to if Rachaad White goes down, he's a monster. But I agree totally. Utah was my underrated team. We're going to talk more about this later. And Cam Rising, maybe it's because every year they seem to beat us, and I hate those douchebags, but they coach up 3 stars like no other. Robert, let's start with underrated with you and overrated.
Underrated for me just this week was Oklahoma. I thought they looked fantastic. They beat the brakes off of Temple. Honorable mention to, what you guys have said is USC, Miami, but OU put on the best show that I saw. Overrated, it's Penn State, because I know what Penn State's going to be. They always start here. Always. And it's James Franklin's show. So I think Oregon had the worst performance of a top 10 team, but where I think we're going to finish, Penn State's going to be the most overrated as we look back on say week 12.
Palmer Chain. Is he right about Penn State? Because Allard can be all over the place, but they got some horses there. Is he right? Starting with you, Tom.
I think he nailed it. Franklin is a big game bust. I think he's 3-21 or 3-17 against top 10 teams all time. He's just, I don't know if it's a motivational thing, but he just, when it comes down to it, when the games matter most, he just does not get his team prepared. So I don't trust their quarterback. His name escapes me at the moment, but you just look back
to Allard.
Drew Allard. Yeah, you look back to what Michigan did to him last year. They ran the ball every snap in the second half, and that just shows you the lack there of respect for that team. And I think they kind of made the blueprint of what other teams are going to be able to do. So I do think Oregon will get it together as the season progresses, but Penn State, they're predominantly a number 3 team. I think they could slip down to maybe a 5 or a 6 in the Big Ten with the new additions.
He was 10 for 22 for 70 yards against Michigan. The next week against Rutgers, and they didn't kill him. It's 27-6, 6 for 13, 79. It's in his defense, he's playing Michigan and Ohio State for top 10 teams.
Yeah.
And that's not always the easiest thing.
But you got to win one at some point.
I agree. Yeah. And James Franklin is just a tit. He's a boob.
And they keep giving him extensions.
Yeah.
We got rich because Tennessee, Florida, and sucked at the same time.
Absolutely. Brandon Chain, I'm going to ask you about another team that stood on his laurels, and he said, we don't need the transfer portal as much. And that was easy money against Georgia. Talk about Dabo and Clemson. What's going to happen there? Is this something he can turn around? And they're still ranked, by the way. I don't know why.
Yeah. They're 25th. So it was, a slow start for Georgia, which actually made Clemson look halfway decent, in the beginning. I thought this was going to be a blowout. I bet on minus 11. I is what I got it at, which we clearly won bigly. So
I think I had them at 13, but I was just like, give me any amount of money. I don't care.
it was. I knew it was going to be a bloodbath. I saw that line and I just jumped all over it. This Clemson team, it's one of these ACC teams that just continues to get propped up. And they're just not as good as they were with that 2 quarterback run, with Deshaun and Trevor Lawrence. So they just keep getting shoveled into the shit here. And this is what happens. I mean,
yeah, this is a dog shit conference overall.
It was, and they were hyped up. They were giving all they had, and they looked like the better team. At least midway through the first quarter, maybe even into the second halfway, and Georgia just,
If you're a number 1 quarterback and you're thinking about Clemson, and an opposing coach recruits against Clemson and says, "Hey, Dabo is on record saying the number 1 receiver, the number 2 receiver, both want to transfer to Clemson. We won't take them." Like, what makes you want to go there? Like, you won't give me help because of your whatever morals or whatever reason? Like, he's going to coach because he's not going to the NFL, and he may coach himself out of a job
this year,
Bill Belichick style.
Well, the statue
you have to adapt
for sure. I don't know about the statue at this point. I'm going to quickly address about how each of your teams played, and I'm going to kind of parlay this into a Heisman conversation very quick. But starting with Michigan, Donovan Edwards had 11 carries for 27 yards. Senior big back who did not transfer, much respect, Khalil Mullins, who's 6'2", 235 probably, was the lead back. Is Donovan Edwards just a guy that in a big game will outrun everyone, but like if it's not, he doesn't play the same way, or guys don't block the same? What is the deal with this dude?
The big hiccup with Donovan Edwards prior was he never showed up for, the games that really didn't mean a whole lot. Is it a motivational factor? Is there just something internal with him? If all eyes are not on him, then
Corum got the ball a lot.
Yeah, and all indication was, you know what? Maybe he didn't feel right being second fiddle to Corum. This is the first year where he's the guy, and he's able to really kind of let it loose. And just watching him run, the way he hit the holes, he was very lackluster. He just, his head didn't seem to be in the game. And looking back, going 2 years ago, and I hate to bring this up, Brandon, but the game down in Columbus, where Corum had the knee, he had a broken bone. He had a broken bone in his hand, and there was no reason to think that he was going to have a game. But the lights were bright, and he showed up, and the same went for last year in the national championship game. He got 2 really long touchdown runs. So is it a situation where a guy just he can turn it on and off whenever he wants, and will that be an indication of what we're going to see this Saturday? But as far as Mullins goes, Mullins has been kind of sniffing around in the offense for the past couple of years, spot play, and he's made his carries count. Had a nice pass a couple years ago. We won't go there, but anyways, so he knows the offense, and he's just kind of been sitting back there waiting his turn. And I'm telling you what, he got the opportunity last week, and he made it count. And I think heading forward, this gives Michigan a nice little option. But Edwards has to step up. And he has to be the lead back if they want this offense to do anything. And to me, the question I've had for the last 2 years is, where's his heart? And because if you look at him, he just has that kind of look on his face. He doesn't have that that passion, that drive that you saw with Blake Corum, that you saw with JJ McCarthy and Roman Wilson and those guys. And you know what? They're not there anymore. So you would thought that he would take that from them and make it his own. And last week it wasn't it. So we're going to learn a lot about this football team. We're going to learn a lot about kind of the trajectory of college football in general is going to go after this game on Saturday here in Ann Arbor.
Even though it looks like you're in a sports book, and I just got back from Vegas and I'm confused. I was going to ask, I didn't see much of the game, and I was going to talk about how the Dodgers' Bobby Miller just gave up a home run to Mickey Moniak, and they're down 5-0 in the first. Mickey Moniak just swings for the fences. Did Donovan Edwards, was there a lot of east-west versus north and south? Because this is a guy that has had home runs hit. You like that, how I did that? On literally the biggest stage against the biggest rivalry in the country in that and then a national championship. Was he east-westing it, or like what was the deal?
I will say he was happy feet, and 2, the offensive line is very young, and they didn't play their best game. But with that being said, this is a power back. This is a guy that can bowl you over. And yes, Fresno State's a halfway decent opponent. Their defense looked pretty solid. But
9-4 team last year. They get a lot of transfers. They are not a horrible team.
Knowing what he is capable of doing, he just didn't hit the hole right, and he didn't have the vision. I guess when you look at it, the vision just wasn't there for him. And will that change this week? I mean, we'll get into it a little bit. I think you're going to see a different player come Saturday. For my sake, I hope we do. So, I mean, it was more east and west rather than north, which as a Michigan fan, you want to see.
And, you also – the big back in college football, we finally got one, Mississippi State transfer, Woody Marks. The big back sometimes is the guy that's going to do that, and you're kind of feel like you need to be the guy that breaks it outside or whatever. And Fresno State does get a lot of transfers. They're not a terrible team, and people need to realize that. They still beat them easily. The first game after losing 30 guys to the NFL. What the fuck? Moving on a little bit, we're going to get into some kind of Heisman talk. Robbie, Nico, Long Beach, Polly's own, where Snoop Dogg and Meshawn Jackson and a ton of dudes that went to SC is from. Nico was unconscious. He looked great. He was 22 of 28, 3 TDs. Samson looked great. It seems like every year the Vols have a back that's amazing. Probably doesn't get used enough in college and goes to the pros and kicks some ass. Do you feel any different about Tennessee, regardless of playing Chattanooga, than you did before game 1?
So we've got a quarterback that can complete passes, and that's all. The difference between Hendon Hooker and Milton last year was Milton couldn't complete passes. You did the numbers: 22 of 28, 78.6%, 3 touchdowns, 93.8 QBR. What does that do? That opens up Sampson for 12 carries, 124 yards, 3 TDs. The backup averaged 12 yards a carry. And then Thornton, 3 receptions, 105, 2 touchdowns. I don't care who you're playing. That's lights out.
And
Gotta
care a little bit who you're playing.
Okay, let's hear Chain. It does kind of matter who you're playing.
It does a little bit. I mean, this is like a 7.
I mean, I'm playing Clipper Clay this weekend. I'm not gonna beat him that bad.
Okay, folks, it was fucking 9 minutes into the first fantasy football fucking reference. We had our live draft. You can tell after all the shots and shit around like round 10 when Robbie drafts free agent Chase Claypool. I gotta say, Rob, though, every year he takes a tight end first round is kind of a joke. Somebody else would take Kelsey, I think, and he actually has a pretty decent team. And I was like, oh shit, man, he may actually. I think it's hilarious when he actually talks shit just for fun, but if he backs it up, it's going to be weird. And that was pretty dope. Real quick, I'm going to ask usually Ohio State has the best receivers in the country, and they have two great ones, which we're going to get into. Tom, your objective. Dante Thornton Jr. for Tennessee, the transfer from Oregon. Brew McCoy, who basically got kicked out of USC. Chris Brazell, who was outstanding at Tulane. Squirrel White versus USC, Zach Branch, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, Kyron Ware-Hudson, who made those two catches, including the targeting. Deuce Robinson, Kyle Ford, Blake McCree, the tight end. Obviously, I'm biased. Would you rank one of those over the other in terms of receiving core?
It's too early. I mean, like Brandon said, I mean, who you play matters. And yes, your guys played LSU, which is a formidable opponent where obviously it was 50-50. You were there. So I would say maybe the slight edge to USC. I don't know because we really don't know what we'll see in Tennessee. I think you're going to see a lot of explosive big plays from Tennessee because that's Josh Heupel's offense. So I think at this point in time, it's kind of unfair to compare the two because one played a JV team and the other played a team that, albeit aside, Brian Kelly might need to take his family out of Baton Rouge here soon.
Fucking douchebag. No credit to USC. Gets all pissed off, blames his kids.
He's an idiot.
Like, he is such an idiot.
He's an idiot, and they're going to run him out of Baton Rouge within the next year or two. So TBD, that's my answer. TBD. We'll see within the next couple weeks what Tennessee might have a little bit more experience, but we'll see.
Hey, we're an opinion show. It's okay to be wrong. Quickly, I talked about Samson and Nico. For those that didn't see Ohio State, very quickly, Shane Egbuka was the guy, but man, Jeremiah Smith, 5-star, 6'3", 220. Oh my God. Is he going to be the guy for Will Howard?
It looks like it. I mean, he had the most targets, 6 for 92 and 2 TDs. So not too bad. He did drop like his first 2 balls, which were right out of the gate. And Buka's been like, he's great when he's great, but he's been, hit or miss. Like just even though he's on the field, it just kind of disappears and gets lost. So
I wanted to use Jeremiah Smith because if he sticks around enough, that's a Heisman Trophy winner. You're right.
He's a very, very long dark horse for sure. He's got the
big
size,
ass dude too. Yeah.
And he's a great route runner, which he's underrated at.
That's what I noticed. He is not really just a big ass dude. Yeah, dude. He is not a big ass dude just running people over. And transition into the Heisman quickly. We talked about Nico being unconscious. Dylan Sampson. What's crazy to me is Dylan Gabriel is ahead of Carson Beck, I believe, in the odds, and Jackson Dart shot up. For me, we wanted to talk about guys that people aren't talking about enough that are going to be in the Heisman conversation. For me, it's Arizona, Servite, Orange County, all boys school, but near modern day. But Tatoria, I always pronounce his first name wrong, McMillan, was a monster receiver who chose Arizona over SC and Jed Fish. He and Noah Fafita did not transfer to Washington with Fish. All he did was have 10 receptions for 304 yards and 4 TDs. He's kind of unstoppable. Rob, is there a guy that nobody's talking about that, Nico, by the way, is up to plus 1,200. He's right now sitting behind Milroe, who maybe you were going to bring up. And Cam Ward's up there, who I know you were probably going to go there. People don't know his plight from Incarnate Word to Washington State to Miami. I mean, this is on Fox Sports that I'm looking at, so it's Fox. But is that where you were going to go with a guy that's getting serious consideration, or where?
Well, I'm going to go with a little bit of a sleeper. Maybe Travis Hunter pulls a Charles Woodson, playing both sides of the ball, and you're talking about just the best football player in America. I could see he looked great on Thursday or Friday, whatever night it was they played. Because man, he doesn't take a play off.
Can he withstand that all year? He didn't miss a play. I don't think he missed a play on defense, and he played the majority of offensive snaps. I don't know if he can get away with that.
Yeah, and if he can, then he should win it just because he can. But
right.
When is the last time the Heisman winner has been the best player in football?
Dominic Sue came in second.
Yeah,
and that was
2012. 2 years ago. He won the Heisman, and he was the number 1 overall pick. So 2 years ago, in my opinion. But and let's not.
Oh no! We're talking about the best non-quarterback because it's a quarterback award now.
Yeah, for sure, it's a quarterback award, and you have to be in consideration in the playoffs or whatever. I could see someone like Quinn Ewers, dude's a stud, got a cannon on him, and if somehow I think they'll be in the playoffs because it's 12 teams this year. But if somehow they can make somewhat of a run into the playoff, watch out. He could be a sleeper for sure.
And let me tell the folks that don't know, the North Dakota State Bisons, they're always in that championship. USC actually got a former championship winning coach for them, Matt Entz, as their linebacker coach. And I couldn't tell you the night and day difference I saw. That's not a joke team. Now, Colorado didn't look very strong, but Jimmy Horn Jr. had 7 for 198 and a TD. Travis Hunter, playing both ways, had 7 for 132 and 3 TDs.
That's legit.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And that's not against a joke. So that is an absolutely excellent answer. Who did I miss? Shane, did I hit you with your Heisman yet? The guy that we're not looking at? Not yet.
Yeah. I said Quinn Ewers. Yeah.
Quinn Ewers. That's a guy people are looking at, and that's going to transition us. And Tom, you can bring up your guy, but that is a natural transition to this weekend, the game of the week by far. I don't know the last time Michigan was a 7.5-point dog at home. Quinn Ewers was kind of Tom's answer. But, Tom, can you break down this game? What does Michigan have to do to win this game, and will they cover?
They have to they missed the spread by a half a point last week. They won by 20. They won 30-10. But the reality is they just didn't play a well-rounded football game. Their offense sputtered. And they had a hard time getting to the quarterback. And Will Johnson, spent a lot of time on the sideline. So I'm not sure if there was an injury situation with him. There was a couple plays where, he kind of got burned on. He sold out for the ball and it kind of bit the bullet on it. But Michigan's going to have to go back to the drawing board and they have to play their game. And it starts with the running game. It starts with that offensive line. And Sharon Moore, who's, he's been their offensive coordinator. He's been their offensive line coach. If there's somebody that can get it together, he's the guy that can do it. So, like I said earlier, this is a young offensive line. They've got a lot of transfers in. That right guard was a real big problem last week. He was letting their guy get to the quarterback. So I think if they can clean that up and they can get that running game going, that's going to help Davis Warren. I do think that you're going to see Alex Orji input into the offense a little bit more. It wouldn't shock me, as a matter of fact, that if you see him coming out of the backfield a little bit, because really when he comes on the field, he is no threat to throw the ball. Maybe that's the decoy. So they have to get their receivers in play here. And as far as defense goes, you have Kenneth Grant and you got Graham up the middle. That preseason, one of the best D lines in the country. They have to make things happen. They have to get to Ewers. And
they have to. And Mason Graham, by the way, went to where McMillan went in Orange County, Servite. When SC didn't get him, it sucked. I agree. Ohio State every year. Pete Carroll did this. Jim Harbaugh did this. They went trenches. And Texas has gone trenches. And last year, Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat were easily the best defensive tackle combo. They've tried to reload again. So Michigan, you're going to be vanilla, I think, when you got Texas the week after. But they really have to show on both. I don't think it'll be a problem. And that's why I like Michigan to cover.
Here's the thing I like.
Will shut down the run, in my opinion.
Here's the thing I like. I like it's a noon kick. So the jitters or the nerves aren't going to set in. You got 112,000. There's going to be a lot of Texas fans there. So, but you got 112,000 there. The atmosphere is going to be electric. And like we talked about earlier, these are the games that Donovan Edwards shows up for. Is that going to be the case this week? If he does, you see him get off the horse early, then this is going to be a big game for them. And as far as covering, 7.5, I think that's a slap in the face. And I think Sharon Moore is going to have those guys ready to go and using that as kind of a sign of disrespect, and they're going to fuel them a little bit. So I definitely think they're going to cover on that one. And don't forget, this is a defense that, yes, they're on their third coordinator in 5 years, Wink Martindale, but they've been running Wink Martindale's defense since Jesse Minter and Mike McDonald. So these guys they're gonna be all right. And I think this is going to be a low scoring game because you're going to see two heavy hitters, two big time teams, and it could be a field goal game. And guess what? Michigan's got a pretty damn good kicker. So I like that fact. He had a 55 and a 56-yarder last week. So
nice, but
it's gonna be an old school. It's gonna be a Big Ten style game, and I do like Michigan's chances definitely to cover.
Yeah, let me tell you that Texas lost C.J. Baxter and Jonathan Brooks, who's a hell of a back. You're looking at almost 1,200 yards, 6 yards per carry, and 10 TDs. And they ran a freshman and Jarrett Gibson and Jaden Blue, who's been there 3 years. You can't run against those two big-ass dudes in the middle with backs like that. And Ewers, I think, can be overrated if you can get after him. The question is, can they get after him, without, you can play man on the outside with Will Johnson, but, how much are they going to have to blitz and commit to the run? I don't think much, and I think Michigan is going to keep it close. I just offensively, we better see something different. Brandon Chain.
Hold on, real quick.
Rob last, but what do you think about this game?
Real quick before Brandon, sorry to interrupt. I think this is a game where there's you talked about a Travis Hunter type guy that moves up into the conversation. This is a game that you look at Will Johnson. He's, some say he's the number 1 pick next year, top 5 at worst. This is a game where if he shines, that he could possibly be put into the conversation. I know it's way too early, and they don't give that award to non-quarterbacks, it seems, but it's somebody that if he can go there and shut down, make some big plays against Ewers, that who knows, that could be the case. But sorry to interrupt.
No, real quick, despite Hunter, which that's never happened, where there'd be 2 DBs in consideration. The DB is going to win. It's going to be the University of Michigan and the legend of Charles Woodson. one of the greatest Raiders of all time. But we're not bringing that up to Tennessee fans who are still pissed about Peyton Manning losing that. The Dodgers are down 6-0 to the fucking Angels.
Fair and square.
Anyways, that's pathetic. Brandon Shane, how do you see this game playing out? The over. I mean, you're a fucking guru, like a genie when it comes to picking over and unders. It's 42. What do you think about that? And Texas 7.5. Is that coming down?
I could see it sliding maybe a half a point to 7, but I still like Texas here.
You do?
I do. I like Texas here to cover, and I like the over. And if Texas is going to cover,
tell us why.
It's going to be the over. I don't think Michigan's secondary can handle it. If you can give Quinn Ewers 2.5, 3 seconds, he's going to pick them apart. And that's what's going to come down to, the trenches for sure. But I'll take the better quarterback in this situation, a better defense thus far in Texas. So give me them to cover, and I'll take the over 42.5.
Fucking respect, dude. That's why I like. That's, we don't follow, only sheep follow the crowd, and we try not to be those guys. We're gonna switch here because the other game of the week, theoretically, is the University of Tennessee, quote, at a Duke's Mayo Classic. It's at where the Panthers play at Bank of America Stadium. Right now, Tennessee's -8. In North Carolina State, you got Grayson McCall, the coastal transfer. Jordan Waters had 124 yards and 2 TDs. Kevin Concepcion, the receiver, had 9 for 121 and 1 TD. They're now ranked. Rob, is this a game? Actually, just tell me how you see this game playing out.
So this is an interesting matchup, I think, because NC State struggled with Western Carolina, and I would have to imagine about halfway through camp, they focused on Tennessee's offense versus Western Carolina's. And so I think they just thought we have the people to get by Western Carolina. Because if any of you guys watch Tennessee play, they're a different brand of football. It is stacked wide receivers. It's sidelines. They play like very few teams play. And now it's great at home because you can communicate. Now, Heupel has struggled on the road. I'm interested to see what kind of crowd we have here. I think it's going to be 50-50, if not 60-40 Tennessee. And so I think it's going to be a semi-home game, which leads me to believe Tennessee can get the plays. And this is the first year with the headsets. Thank you, Connors. Now they don't steal signs. They can actually communicate straight.
First time he'll hear that.
And so I think Tennessee. My gut is Tennessee will cover this, and I think they may go over themselves.
Bro, I've seen Tennessee, Peyton Manning, and Todd Helton travel to Pasadena, California to play UCLA in the 90s with like 70,000 people. This is a 3-hour and 44-minute drive to Charlotte. I think it's going to be 80-20, dude.
Yeah, Tennessee's going to show up.
Yeah, I think they will. And this is like one of those teams where, oh, look at their numbers. Let's rank them. And I think Nico's a different dude, man. I watched him a little bit in high school. People are like, oh, he's just a skinny dude that runs a lot. No, he's very poised. And Josh Heupel is a quarterback whisperer. I mean, he got Joe Milton drafted, which is fucking crazy. Did he not get drafted, or was he undrafted?
No,
he went to New England.
Yeah. And competed for the job.
Right.
I mean, ask Michigan fan, I was shocked by that.
Garbage.
Hendon Hooker became a hell of a backup for Tom's. I think the Detroit Lions are in great shape, and they love him, and he's a smart, great backup. So,
well, the offense is genius. Not to get too nerdy, but when you stack the receivers, you can't play bump and run because you can't touch them both. And so both have to back off, and they just run up, and they just divide. It's a very simple offense, but just very creative.
I think you're right. And with that, dude, we're going to end our college football talk right at 50 minutes. We're going to do a little bit of pro. It hasn't started yet. The first game is Baltimore and Kansas City. Kansas City is a 3-point favorite. I'm a believer in the Super Bowl hangover, so I could see Baltimore doing their thing. Last year, I can't remember, Tom, which team went into Kansas City and smacked them around.
Do we have a
I
Taylor?
don't know if they smacked. It was 20-21. So
Is
they did
Taylor
win.
going to be there? Do we know? Is Taylor going to be there?
21. Now Brandon Chain's going full Raj with the Rain Man numbers. I have no idea. I just remember them stopping them when they had to.
It wasn't a smack around. It was a hangover, Super Bowl hangover.
Anytime Kansas City loses.
No, I was betting on the lines for sure last year. We talked about it.
That was a fun night at Ford Field. I'll tell you that. They did a viewing party, a road party. There was about 15,000 people in there, and yeah, you would have thought they were playing on that field. It was exciting, especially when they won. It poured out to the streets, and everyone was excited. And that kick-started the season. That was definitely one for the memory banks. That's for sure.
I'm going to kind of tangent here before we get into what we were going to talk about a little bit more. Tom, Detroit had a lot of things go their way last year.
According to my NFL schedule, Taylor's version, Taylor will be in attendance.
That's good to know.
Well, she won't be sitting with Mahomes, his wife.
Oh, I know. I got some drama.
Oh, they got to a fight?
We don't want to get into that yet. No. Yeah,
she endorsed.
They would, dude.
She endorsed a certain candidate that doesn't fit in the values of Taylor Swift. So we'll just leave it at that.
And she doesn't have billions to rescue, but we all know she sucks, and not Taylor. Brittany Mahomes, like, shut the fuck up, lady. It's like a goldfish, just like keep coming up for air, and you're just like want to smother it. But anyways. Detroit had a lot of good things go their way. Injury-wise, they were fortunate. I don't remember how many one-score games they had, but they kind of, there's just kind of that theory, in my opinion, that really hard to duplicate that type of good fortune. What the fuck is going on over Summer's house? Is there construction?
I think Tom's got some ice hockey or some.
Yeah, is he playing?
It's
or the sports bar?
What is it? The old puck game. Oh. Air hockey.
Air hockey.
Not me.
Boy, you've never sounded 90 before in your life. Now, they kicked a lot of teams' ass, and they had a pretty good schedule. But, Kansas City, 1-point game. OT Seattle, 3 points Chargers, 5 points Bears. Touchdown. Lost to Green Bay. Long story short, New Orleans, 5 points. A lot of things did go their way. Would you agree? And do you expect the same type of output from your Detroit Lions this season? Is it Super Bowl or bust for you?
First off, I think they're using that second half of the NFC Championship as fuel. And they looked at that, 30 minutes and said, okay, what do we need to get over that hump? And we needed help on the defensive line. They got it with DJ Reader. They needed secondary help, big time. They went out and got the guy from Tampa Bay. They got
Bunting. No. Did they get Sean Bunting?
No, I forget. I should know this. That's terrible of me.
Barry Joseph, Brian Branch, Carlton Davis.
They got Carlton Davis. And then they got
Robinson from the Raiders.
Yep.
It was actually a pretty good nickel.
And then they went in the draft and got Terrion Arnold and Enos Rackstraw Jr. They basically took their biggest needs and they attacked it. So, to me, they got better. And then they went out and got Zittler from the Ravens on offensive line. They lose Jonah Jackson. They get Kevin Zittler, who is maybe an upgrade at that position. So you took an offensive line that was already top 2 or 3 in the NFL, and you made it better. So all in all, they got better than they did last year. They lost a home game against Seattle that they had no business losing. They lose at Thanksgiving to Green Bay, which kind of springboarded the Packers season. But nonetheless, that's 2 home losses in arguably one of the most ruckus atmospheres in the NFL right now. So I think they're looking at that and kind of using that as fuel. And we know Dan Campbell's a motivator. And you know that the core of this team is very young, and they're proven. And you have a guy, an offensive weapon in Jameson Williams, who we don't know what he's going to bring to the table.
Hasn't been used yet.
This is year 3, and he was coming off an ACL in year 1. He had the gambling scandal in year 2. He's ready to go. And if the NFC Championship was any indication, he caught that ball in the backfield and took it for 55 yards right down the throat of San Francisco's defense. So I think this is a weapon that Detroit has. And you know what? They're young. Like I said, you have Laporta, you have Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, which you're a big fan of. So there's no reason to think that they can't repeat what they did. They lost a couple pieces, they gained a few. So I all indications around here, and I'm toting the flag. I'm drinking the Honolulu blue and silver Kool-Aid. It's Super Bowl or bust. And that's the mentality that we have never seen in the city of Detroit in my lifetime. The hype here, it's palpable. It's unbelievable. And the fact that we have to wait till 8:30 for a kickoff on Sunday night for the start of the season is just like, I'm already to jump out of my body. I'm so excited. So yes,
Great game.
I think
the Rams at home.
I think you have to think that it's Super Bowl or bust with the way they've built this team. And let's not forget, Johnson, the offensive coordinator, he turned down 2 jobs that would have paid him mightily to come back and see what we could do this year. So I'm excited. I mean, if you can't tell.
I'm going to say 2 things. Number 1, I'm a firm believer, and you have to pay your dues in the playoffs. Needless to say, they did. Number 2, Josh Reynolds is fucking gone. Fuck that guy. So,
to his defense, when Goff needed a big catch, Josh Reynolds was there the last 2 years. He was kind of his security blanket. But when he needed him to show up, he dropped 2 huge passes, which ultimately could have ended up being the difference in that game, unfortunately.
Here's a trivia question for the 2 of you. I'm going to say this for Rob and for Tom. Goff played almost every snap last year. He was the leading passer. Who was the second leading passer on the Detroit Lions without Googling?
Oh, on the Lions?
On the Lions. Here's a hint. I don't know how this happened. He went to Tennessee, and he plays defense. Jalen Reeves-Maybin.
Yes.
On one attempt.
That was in Dallas, wasn't it? The punt.
It was in Dallas. And, yes, he ended up number 2. Goff took every snap.
Yeah, how
Jalen on a punt, fake punt.
Yep.
He went 1 for 1 for 31 yards. So
that was a punt. That was a fake punt I believe it was in the second quarter in Detroit's own territory. They were at like the 30,
right?
Yeah, it was full on Dan Campbell. And yes, he was the second leading passer on the Detroit Lions.
Give him a contract.
They did. They just re-signed him.
Yeah, he's 29. He's a hell of a player.
He's their special teams captain.
I'm going to ask Shane first real quick. Because not that many people care, but tell me your thoughts on the Tennessee Titans this upcoming season. Is Will Levis the guy? And what else do you think about them?
Jury's still out on Will Levis. Obviously, the front office thinks he's the guy. They went in and got a lot of weapons for him. I think a little bit of an upgrade on the offensive line. We're still nowhere near where we need to be, but we got some weapons on the outside now. Calvin Ridley, a little bit underrated. I thought he was great in Jacksonville. Obviously, a slight downgrade on paper for the quarterback with Levis, but he's a gunslinger, man. And I think with Pollard and Sharp in the backfield, I think we've got a lot of versatility there, and you're probably going to see a two-handed monster there in the backfield. But the weapons on the outside, Hopkins, he's lost a step and a half or so, but hell, he's still got some.
Still had 1,000 yards last year, dude. And
that's what I'm saying. He's still got some of the best hands in the game. So I like our chances. Now, playoffs, maybe, we'll see.
Crazy?
Yeah.
I was going to say,
we'd have to go absolutely berserk to do that. But no, I think we're still in the rebuilding phase, and let's see if Levis is a guy and then kind of build around that.
Well, it's not even the roster or the team. This is our schedule. At the Bears, Jets, Packers, at Dolphins, versus Colts, at Bills, at Lions. That's awful to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
If we're 2-5, that's good, I think.
You never know. Like I said, I'm optimistic. I don't think we'll sniff the playoffs, but we'll see. I think we'll upset some people.
Hopefully, shit season last year, but Joseph Day, that was a Rams Super Bowl champion. T'Vondre Sweat, we talked about earlier, from Texas, they drafted. Still have Harold Landry, L'Jarius Sneed they paid for. They've got names on defense, but I agree with Rob. And anytime your organization takes a third-round pick on a quarterback and fucked up so hard, I mean, you could have gotten a really big contributor, and I'm talking about Malik Willis on this team for a third-rounder, and then you pivot, 1 year later. Somebody's not doing their job. Levis was a second-round pick. I just don't think this is a well-run organization. And as a Raider fan, I'm an expert on this. Rob, let me ask you this. I'm going to give you the NFC. I'll give you the AFC. We were talking about this, and we're going to end the show with this quickly. Contenders that we all know about: Detroit, Dallas, Philadelphia, San Francisco. Is there a team that you think, and Tom, I'm going to ask the same, and I'm going to let Shane have the AFC. Is there a team we're not looking at in the NFC that, whether it be strength of schedule wise or what they did in the offseason, that people should be
one that smacks me in the face is Atlanta. They got their quarterback. They've got weapons. They've got an easy division. Maybe one of the worst divisions in football. And they've got the best quarterback in that division, and so I like Atlanta to win that division, get a home playoff game, and then you get Cousins in the circus and see what happens.
They get Judon, they get Justin Simmons, guys that are like first team All Pro. Suddenly, nobody wants it.
Got
Burrell is probably one of the best man corners.
Yeah,
Drake London.
Yeah, London. Yeah, they've got weapons. Bijan.
They got Mooney from the Bears. Pitts.
Yeah.
This is a well-balanced team in an easy division. I would watch out for them. Tom, same question.
I've got two. And my first one is in that same division. I think Tampa, what they were able to accomplish last year, getting to the playoffs, getting to the second round of the playoffs, you know what? Given Detroit everything they could handle at Detroit, it was a interception in the fourth quarter to kind of ice it for the Lions. But I think that camaraderie that, Baker's with them for now a second year, he's got the extension. I think there's some familiarity with that offense. And yes, similar with Atlanta, I think the weaker conference kind of gives them an advantage, because I don't think, obviously, Carolina will be lucky to win a game, and the Saints aren't, anything to worry about. But that's a team that could make some noise. And here's another one. The Seahawks. They went and got Ryan Grubb, who was the offensive coordinator at University of Washington, and who had Michael Penix as a quarterback. You have Geno, who is a kind of a similar type of quarterback, maybe not as on the offensive side as he used to be, younger in his career. But Jackson Smith and Jigba, I look for him to have a breakout year. You have Charbonnet, you have Walker at running back, and obviously DK Metcalf. They have all the reasons, all the weapons in their shed to deal with, and it's a new regime. Mike McDonald is now the head coach, was the defensive coordinator at Baltimore, previously at Michigan. So I think that's a team that could sneak in out of the West. Everyone's talking about the 49ers, and I'm not exactly sold on the 49ers. So I don't think Seattle's going to win the division, but I think they're a team that could get in a wild card and make some noise. Just the fact that they've got such good weapons and they could put something together.
I'm going to say, before I go to Chain and give them the entire AFC, I am biased. The schedule's not easy. They play in your division. That's the Chicago Bears. Obviously, I'm a big Caleb guy. Chain, shut the fuck up. I know you don't like him. But, no, man, this is a team that got, DeAndre Swift. They still have Herbert. They still have Roshan Johnson from Texas.
DJ Moore, Keenan Allen.
DJ Moore got paid. Keenan Allen for nothing. Roma Dunze, who just look at the national championship game, that was the one guy that was like, damn. Cole Kmet, a good offensive line, a good defensive line. They signed TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, 2 linebackers 2 years ago that were considered 2 of the best linebackers. And if you haven't seen Jalen Johnson play, he's one of the best corners, man.
Yeah, Vontae Sweat too.
Yep, and exactly. Montez Sweat. Devondre Sweat. You were right on. We talked about him, the Texas guy. But that's a team, dude, that just went from nothing to competitive, and they're solid in the trenches. That's a hard ass division though, and it went from like an ass division, no offense, to one of the best, and the team that was the best, Minnesota, is now the worst.
It's the second best division in football, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. Brandon Chain, you have the entire AFC. Give me 3 teams, and I'm going to say outside of Miami, Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and I'm taking Houston from you. Can you give me, hey, those are everybody, what they're talking about. Give me 1 or 2 teams to watch out for based on talent. You can't take Houston. They have too many guys now.
That's exactly what I was going to take, Houston. But
tell me why Houston before you take your other. Tell me why they're different than last.
So, you just look at what CJ Stroud did last year. I think they upgraded a little bit on defense, definitely upgraded on the offensive side. Addition of Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, along with Nico and Tank Dell. That is a dangerous offense. Their offensive line is solid. I think they're in the top 12 or 15 in the NFL.
I'd say higher. I think you're right.
I think they've got a ton of potential, and they've got a quarterback that's, non-biased here. I didn't think he was going to make it, like most Ohio State quarterbacks do not in the NFL.
I didn't either. And I watched him.
Dude, that dude is so good. He was so good last year. So let's see if he continues that with this new offense, they're going to be one to watch for sure.
All right, then let me throw out some teams, and you stop me.
I've got another one.
Okay, my bad. Go for it.
The Jets and my boy Aaron Rodgers. I'm telling you, I had him last year, and he tore his damn ACL, screwed my whole season up.
Brandon's gotten drunk. He's got
the Hard Knocks jinx, dude. Last year, everybody was on them. Suddenly, they're not, and they're
I'm
pretty
telling you,
loaded.
And you know what? Not only Aaron Rodgers, but look at their defense. One of the best in the league. Their defense is solid. And if you've got Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson,
There it is.
I mean, come on.
Uh,
You were waiting on that, Tom.
That back seven, dude. Mosley, Quincy Williams, Sauce, DJ Reed.
Dude,
That's just
Sauce Gardner.
loaded.
Detroit.
just give him a quarterback that can sit in the pocket, throw the ball. They're gonna tear it up. So I love the
Reese
Jets.
barely
I
played.
just looked at Brandon's roster, expecting him to have Aaron Rodgers. It's even worse. He's got Kyler Murray. God.
What do you think about Cleveland?
Kyler
What do you think
Murray
about Cleveland?
is the guy that I drafted early because he's gonna fucking light it up, and I drafted Malik as well, or Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik.
Actually got both of those.
Right, Cleveland. I think
Cleveland is a
Deshaun
team.
Watson could be pretty damn good. Like
You got Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper, and
Elijah
Chubb will be
Moore.
back in week 4.
Yeah,
Njoku?
Jerome Ford is a
he's not
starter
very
though.
good at this.
I don't know about week 4. That's when he comes off the pup.
The
But-
Browns are gonna Brown. You can't. I don't care
I
what the
agree.
names on their team. They're gonna
Maybe.
screw it up.
Antonio,
They always do.
Their line is still
Sorry
solid.
for
I want my dad. I want my
Yeah,
dad
sorry,
to
Tom's dad.
experience the
Sorry.
happiness.
Sorry, Tom's dad.
He'll tell
no
you the
offense
same
to
thing.
you. It's just the Browns are gonna Brown. Man.
He'll tell you the same thing.
Hey, the
It's like
Browns.
some
are gonna-
kids like Devin Bush and
the Browns are
Denzel
going
Ward
to
for you, Shane.
Yeah, I know.
I think they're going to have the first stadium that's never hosted a playoff game.
Who's that?
Huntington Bank Stadium now.
Well, yeah, because they're building a new one now. But yeah,
Well, it's not for sure.
The
Oh.
Raiders' iRobot is never going to host a playoff game. So, by the way, iRobot, it's a good stadium, but SoFi is just unreal. I think one of you guys have been there. I thought Rob maybe, but
have you been to Mercedes?
I have. It was nice, but SoFi is untouchable right now, dude. Like iRobot was like 2 billion, SoFi was like 5 and change. But
Yeah.
then again, real estate, but whatever. Fuck it. I agree with you on the Jets. The Browns, I'm not a Watson guy. Judy, more Cooper, who's a guy that's going to get hurt. He's never put 2 seasons together. Aging offensive line, still a good defense. I don't know if Miles is going to step on faces again. Still in a tough division where the other 3 teams are just as good, if not better, except for
I said the NFC North was number 2. I think the AFC North is the best division in football.
I'm going to leave that one alone. I don't.
AFC West is tough.
Well, we used to be.
Chargers,
What about the NFC West with
Chiefs.
Seattle, the Rams, and the Niners are all teams that are going to light it up and got a lot of stars. But
I think
I don't
Broncos
want
are
to.
gonna be Bo Nix. I think he's gonna light it up. Obviously,
I wanted to stop. I wanted to keep this.
Is that your first quarterback you drafted?
Stop. Please don't do that. I wanted to keep this at around an hour and 15, an hour and 20. We're an hour and 13. So let's get into Bet Your Nuts. I think that should be the next segment.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
All right. I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to go to Rob. University of Tennessee, baby. -8. I think they're going to light those MFers up, and I'll take the points. I'll probably take the over, which I'm not sure what it is. Oh, it's 60. No, but I'll take Tennessee to win by 14 to 21 points. That's why I went first. Rob, you are next.
you stole my
Oh.
thunder.
Oh, we got some shit in the game here, Mr. James Thomas.
What a dummy! Finally learned how to work the internet.
Knows
Talking
every
shit.
year Rob's going to crash and burn, which makes it entertaining. 'Cause he still tries to defend it, but
I got UT -8. as
No.
my number one.
I already said that.
I know you still want to bet your nuts, but then backup if you want to parlay it. My second most confident football pick on Saturday is Ole Miss minus 42. Lane Kiffin is on a mission to embarrass folks. They're playing Ole Miss.
He loves doing that shit. He wants Heisman winners.
Yeah.
He wants everything in the world. I agree with you totally on that one. That's a lot of points, but at least on Lane, he's an insecure fuck. Brandon Chain, bet you're nuts.
I'm going to take it to the NFL. I think this isn't a Green Bay Philly game in Brazil or something, or in there.
So yeah, they play two teams that wear green. Play them in a country where the color green is not allowed to be worn. Go figure.
They better have some serious security there. Dude.
Well, that aside, give me Green Bay +3 over Philly on a neutral field.
Now you're dead too, but +3.
I know.
I'm
telling you.
Raj and I are the only
Friday
ones
night,
starting
by the
off
way.
making money. Tom, what's your pick?
Is that all you got,
Friday
Brandon?
night, by the way, and I'm the host. Screw you. A Friday night, like Rob says, though, in the NFL, they monopolize everything. They got Thursday, they got Friday, they got Sunday and Monday.
Oh, they're playing Friday too?
Friday night.
Friday night is the Brazil game at
That's what I just
8:15
said.
on Peacock.
I'm about to be in the
Don't you
doghouse.
listen to me?
I'm about to be in the
Yeah.
doghouse because I got to cancel some plans.
So everybody listening, if you don't have Peacock, you better get it because it's the
Oh,
only
dude.
place to see it.
And what I heard is like ABC and Disney. Some of my friends, another home run to the Angels. Oh my god! There was some shit with that where a lot of people couldn't watch SC LSU, which is
DirecTV,
joke.
the contract ran out at 8 p.m. on Saturday. They pulled the plug on all ESPN, ABC, and Disney on
So-
DirecTV.
DirecTV says they're
I
not
have
gonna
Direct.
negotiate, and then so,
I canceled DirecTV. I got YouTube TV now. So.
yeah.
I probably
YouTube.
should.
Not that Google needs more money, but Google is about to rake up this whole.
For a sports fan, YouTube TV is the best
Awesome.
way to go.
Yeah.
That's a fucking
Best way
joke.
to
And
go.
ironically enough, I got Direct. Well, number one, we don't have EPB, which in Chattanooga is outstanding. Was considered the best and fastest fiber optic cable network. No, I don't work there. Our friend Blake does in the country. But I got it for Sunday Ticket, and now it sucks D. So
Yeah,
enough of
YouTube's
that.
where it's at. You can
Yep.
you can 4-box every sport now.
Yep.
I like-
Multiple networks too.
Yeah.
when I was in Vegas at Palomino number 4, I 4-boxed it as well. So that's a very, very good thing to 4-box. But on that note, those days are over. But anyways, Tom,
All right.
bet you're nuts.
I got one for Saturday. I'm going right down to Ann Arbor. I like Michigan to cover the 7.5. Don't ask me who's going to take the money line because I'm undecided at the moment. But I do think Michigan can cover. Heading into Sunday, actually, we're heading into tomorrow night. You mentioned the Super Bowl hangover, and Detroit went into Arrowhead and won last year. I think the Ravens go into Arrowhead and win this one. So money line is +30. I'm taking Baltimore to win the game. And then on Sunday, I like the Colts +3 against the Texans. I think that's a home game. Give me the Colts to cover that one. Tigers now up 5-0 on the San Diego Padres. Former Los Angeles Dodger prospect Trey Sweeney with a 2-run home run.
Because if we're going to ask if we have the fucking Angels, and by the way, oh my God, Will Smith. By the way, Flaherty's the man. Yeah, I'll take it. But let's, I'm going to go first because I don't have something that significant to say. Then I'm going to go to Chain. We'll do our final words. Sorry. Tom works hard on the graphics and producer extraordinaire. Literally, the three of us are like, I was going to say something terrible, but we're just like infants,
Lumps on a
Better.
log.
deaf and mute that can't do anything without him.
You bring your knowledge. I say that all the time. You guys are better than
No.
me at that.
So what I'm going to say is Lincoln Riley stayed with Alex Grinch as his defensive coordinator last year. He was just the worst. We wanted him dead. Dylan Johnson, not literally. Dylan Johnson of Washington had 100 yards before first contact in our game against Washington, which was like a one-score game. My point being is coaching matters. He went out and got Doug Belk for the secondary. Matt Entz was a national championship winning coach at North Dakota State. Sean Nua has been a monster at defensive line, and another defensive line coach and co-defensive coordinator is Eric Henderson, Coach Henny, who basically mentored Aaron Donald for the last 5 years on the Rams. And Donald's coming to practice. We don't have the depth. We have a couple SEC guys and Bear Alexander from Georgia, Anthony Lucas from A&M, and DeAnton Lynn, of course, who turned UCLA into a top 10 defense in 1 year, and he brought with him a couple of dudes that have been sensational. So never forget that coaching matters in football so much, especially college. And I did not expect to see the kind of defensive turnaround I saw against, let's face it, SEC monsters, the two best tackles in the country together. I could not believe what the coaches did in that offseason. And it matters, folks. If you're unsure about any of your coaches, especially on defense, you're effed. And that's all I'm going to say about that, Forrest Gump style. Brandon Chain, your final words?
Short and sweet. I'm glad to be back. It's been a while. Football's finally back. Now we got some stuff to talk about. Looking forward to tomorrow night. And let's go. Let's go NFL.
Bro, there's a reason why we waited. Like I said, good things come to those who wait. Robbie Davis, final words.
So my final words are this. I wasn't happy this weekend because, and this is a blink reaction, and I'm sure I'll come around and I will like it and I will adapt because it's what you always do. But the thought of the 12-team playoff in college, I just don't like it because Florida State can go 0-2, still win the ACC, and still get in. And that's just not the college football we grew up with. It was, hey, if you lose one, it's back against the wall, much less lose two. And even though there were some good matchups, nothing really matters that much because there's 12 teams that get in. So I like the 4-team playoffs. Like I said, I'm sure I'll adapt. And I'm sure I'll get used to it. But blink reaction is I don't like it. I don't like they sold out for television, and that bothers me.
Depth is going to matter more than anything. And that's why I say with baseball, cut one series from each of your teams in your division. That's 15 to 20 games. These guys are playing how many games? Like 15, 16? Like, you got to have horses to stay alive.
Yeah, you just can't convince me that I like it right now. Like I said, I'm sure I'll change.
I'm with you, actually.
My first instinct was, I don't like this.
I'm with you. And I think that's an excellent point. Tom, we always end with you. Significance, intelligence, emotion. Hey, no pressure, but take us out.
I'm going to show you this. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's a gem.
Welcome to Applebee's. Can I interest you in America's favorite boneless wings for just 50 cents each?
I have the 50-cent bone.
Cover your mouth. They could steal your order.
I'll have the 50-cent boneless wings.
I'll have the same.
Perfect. They'll never see it coming.
That is priceless.
That works for Michigan also.
That is our coach of the Detroit Lions, Motor City Dan Campbell. If there ever has been a coach more beloved, You had Chuck Daly with the Pistons, Sparky Anderson with the Tigers, Jim Leland of the Tigers as well, Scotty Bowman of the Red Wings. Dan Campbell is right up there. This guy is everything that breathes out of the city of Detroit. He's blue collar. Love the fact that he did that Applebee's commercial, came out and said that his wife and daughter were the ones that kind of pressured him to do it. And if I can rewind back 2 years ago when a certain coach of the Kansas City Chiefs decided to do something he had never done, do a commercial for State Farm, and that led to back-to-back Super Bowl championships. So maybe we're seeing the following of something.
It's a dangerous thing.
The hope that is in Michigan is just
Matter of fact, I wish I would have had the graphic up. There was a side-by-side graphic of Dan Campbell and Mike Ditka and where they have been in their coaching points, and they were identical, almost identical. And in his fourth year, Ditka won a Super Bowl, and we're in Dan Campbell's fourth year. So third year.
Did you see that fucking defense? That
Oh well,
we're gonna have to be on suicide watch for Tom. Once the
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
More times. Are you sure
11 or
Detroit's
5
not an SEC?
12, whatever.
You guys have too much time on your hands.
5-12.
And Dan Campbell was funny. He was too good. Andy Reid sucks in those commercials.
Yeah. So I love the fact that he's out there and there's been a bunch of commercials with Lions in it. I just 5 years ago you couldn't have told me that the Lions were going to be relevant to this point. I love it. I'm excited. Excited for tomorrow night, excited for Friday night, excited for Saturday afternoon. This is what it's all about. This is what Reckless Speculation is all about. We're going to start ramping things up. Next couple of weeks to be a little, questionable with my work schedule, but we're going to get content out there. But I mean, sky's the limit, guys. We're going to start kicking ass again. And I hope our teams do well. This weekend is the pinnacle of football, and I'm excited to get this thing going.
For Tom Sloan, I am Raj Mehta. Fight on, by the way. Brandon Chain, and of course the illustrious Robert Davis, who only brought up fantasy football 1 or 2 times. We wish you all the best. Welcome to football. We are Reckless Speculation.
Welcome back, football.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation. Cheers.